The first 4 slides of your notes are really just informational, and it just helps you to see the phrasing and the formulas. Basically, if you see the word directly, it's going to be multiplication. So direct variation, if y varies directly as x, the formula is y equals kx. The k is called the constant of variation or the constant of proportionality. So where you see the word constant of proportionality, you should also write constant of variation. All of these formulas have a k in them somewhere. And the key is, if you see the word direct, it's k multiplied by whatever it's varying directly with. Here's an example. The distance a spring is stretched from its natural length varies directly as the force on the spring, or D equals kf, where D is the distance stretched, F is the force, and K is the spring constant. So if we take a particular spring and stretch it and measure the force, we can figure out what that constant is. And once we know the constant, we could say, all right, so if we put this much force on it, how far would we be able to stretch it? Or if we stretch it this far, how much force would be necessary to achieve that? So once you know the constant of proportionality, you can use that to predict other values. Here's direct variation with the nth power. Y varies directly as the nth power of x. Y equals kx to the n. Basically, the hint is if you see the term direct variation or varies directly, it's k times something, and then you just look at what it's describing to put those numbers in. The area of a circle, a equals pi r squared, is a form of direct variation proportional to the square of the radius in this case. Inverse variation. If you see the word inversely, that's going to mean division. And notice this formula, y equals k divided by x. So anytime you see the phrase inversely, that means that the stuff that comes after is going to be underneath k in the denominator of that quotient. You can also have inverse variation with the nth power of x, like in this example. And you'll notice in your notes that because this was highlighted green on the PowerPoint, it's shaded gray. All of the formulas are shaded gray on your notes. We're also going to talk about joint variation. Joint variation is another form of multiplication. It's k times multiple things. So z varies jointly with x and y, z equals kxy. And you can also involve exponents in that one. Moving on, let's look at an example. And the key here, and you might want to write this at the top, if it says directly, then it's k times whatever the other variables are. If it says inversely, then it's k divided by whatever those other variables are. And jointly is another version of directly. Write a mathematical model for the verbal statement. V varies directly as the cube of E. I see directly, which means multiplication. So V equals k times, what do you suppose the rest of that equation would be? E. And what does it say before E? Cube. The cube of E. So V equals k times E cubed. Ta-da! That's it. That's all. Z is jointly proportional. Jointly is also multiplication. So Z is jointly proportional. So there's k times square of x. So x squared. And y cubed. So, and y cubed. Z equals kx squared y cubed. h varies inversely as the square root of s. Inversely means division. So h equals k divided by, what does this say?
Square root of s.
So what do I put on the bottom?
Square root of s.
So when you first see these slides and this terminology and all of these formulas, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be way too much. But really, truly, directly and jointly, k times stuff. Inversely, k divided by stuff, and you're good to go. Okay, find the constant of proportionality and write an equation that relates the variables. So first we need to look at, what does this say? Y varies inversely as x. Inversely, that means k divided by.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that. Okay, y varies inversely as x. Y varies inversely means y equals k divided by x. Y equals 3 when x equals 25. What do you suppose we're going to do with this y equals 3? Put it in place of the y. And then that 25 is going to go on the bottom. Do we now have enough information to figure out what k is? What should we do?
Times 25 on both sides.
And 25 times 3 is?
Down 5.
Okay, Brody.
I mean, at least I know it.
Well, it's true. Okay, so the first part of the direction said, find the constant of proportionality. That is what we did when we found k equals 75. We are not done yet because now it says, and write an equation that relates the variables. So we need another answer that relates the variables. Basically, we need to go back to the equation we started with, y equals k divided by x, but now, do we know what k is?
Yep.
Now we know that k is 75, so rewrite the equation y equals 75 divided by x. That is the other answer that they want you to have. This is the easiest questions on the test, but it's the most often missed because a lot of people, y equals k divided by x, k is 75. There, I'm done. I got k equals, I'm done. You aren't done after you find k. You need to go back to the original equation and put that k value in to get your final answer. Let's try example 3. P varies directly as x and inversely as the square of y. Does that sound a little bit more complicated? But we can totally do this. P equals, it says directly as x. What does directly mean? Times. So it's going to be k times x. Inversely means divide. K divided by, so we make a denominator, and it says the square of y. So y squared. Then it gives you all of the information so that the only unknown is k. So P is 12. We don't know k. X is 27. Y is 6. So that'd be 12 equals 27k over 36. What do you think we should do? We can do this all in one step, or we can do this step by step. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do this step by step because I think it makes more sense. I'm going to multiply by 36 on both sides to get rid of that. And 36 times 12, that's going to be something kind of big. 432. So if 432 is 27k, how do I figure out what k is? Divide by 27. So I'm figuring out that K is 16. Now, one more time. That is the first part of your answer. Go back. There we go. We still need the second part of the answer. The second part of the answer is write an equation that relates the variables. So go back to our P equals kx over y squared and put in the numbers that we now know. P equals 16x over y squared. You don't want to use P equals 12, X equals 27, or Y equals 6. You want to put those back to P, X, and Y. The only number that you want to edit is the K. So go back to this equation and put what you now know K is in place of K. The original assignment listed 20, 22, 24, 25 through 30 all, and then number 7. And I wanted you to do them in that order, doing those problems first, then doing number 7. But I've decided for time to eliminate number 7, so I really don't care what order you do them. I would do them in order, but that statement isn't really necessary anymore.